Just taking another wander around the garden at the minute, because all the weather forecast for next week is that it's going to turn extremely cold and possibly snowy. Can you believe? And I follow the weather quite a lot just to see what's going on. So I thought I'd just take a little wander around and video the garden as it is at this moment, and then if the snows do it, as like they say they're going to hit, then I can do another sort of contrasting video at that point. So it's what do you do at this time of year? I don't know what other people do, but I evaluate all the time, reevaluate, evaluate, and reevaluate again, because nothing can be perfect, but you can give it a good go. So that's the entrance at Grassy Bottom. This is the way down. And I've got quite a few plants there that I don't usually show. This is the other entrance. So we've got quite a lot going on, and there's still a lot of greenery. This Prunera, which is Alexander's Great, is still in leaf. It just doesn't seem to want to die away. Yeah, it's great, really. So I don't really do a lot at this time of year. I have a little walk around, like I say, all the time. And this one's new to me last year, this one here. Look at the colour on that, stunning, isn't it? This is Digitalis Stewartii, and it's a perennial. And I'm not 100% sure at the moment how to look after this one. Although being an expert, you'd think I would know, but I don't know. But what I'm spotting, it's got these little regrowths on the stalks themselves, so that's quite interesting, that. So I'm going to do a bit of checking up and seeing just what I do. You know, will these make little plantlets? I don't know. It's exciting, isn't it? Look at the colour of that. That's fantastic. Makes me wish I'd left all these spires, but the reason I took them off was because I needed the seeds. And I wanted to give away a few seeds of that, which I've done now, for other people to enjoy this plant. It's really nice. And it gets to about 7 foot, each one of those spires. So it's just a foxglove, but it's a really nice yellow one. If you look on my grid on Instagram, at gardenersjourney.1, you'll see some pictures of that I just recently uploaded from the summer. Or that I reshared. Anyway, so we're into December now, and as I said, they're predicting snows. Whether we get it or not, I don't know. Probably we will here, because we're up on the Lincolnshire Wolds, and as you can see in the background there, way beyond, we have lots of rolling hills. We're fortunate enough to be across from a school, an old school, which is quite nice, because obviously at the weekend, there's not usually anybody there. That building at the back there, so it's fab. No one here. So things are still continuing to sort of like die back now, but not fast. This Catinus, it's a bit of a quandary, this one. What do you do with it? I think I'm going to hammer it hard back this year and just keep hammering it back through the spring. And the downside to that is that I'll lose all the flowers, but needs must and all that. I think it's the only thing I can do. So a lot of the grasses are looking fantastic, as I said on previous videos. They're just continuing this year. And I think it's all been helped with Plant Grow UK mulch, which I put down. As you can see, it's quite dark there, and that's the mulch, and it's great. You can do this again in spring, actually, the mulching, and it'll be fine. And then we've had a lot of what they call vivipara going on this year, and I've noticed on lots of people's grids on Instagram that that's been happening, and I think I've shown this already. So there you go. That is, if it'll focus in for you, there you go. Now that is what they call vivipara. That is the seed actually growing away before it drops from the parent plant. And that's a dianthus, and it's called Carthunianum. Is it Carthunianum? Let's have a look. Make sure, because it's new to me again this year. Carthusinorum. And it's, I'll show you the ticket there so you know. So you can get that one. And it's really, really nice. It's nice. If you're not into dianthus or pinks, get that one, because that's quite a nice, unusual one. Yeah. So I'm just evaluating at the minute again. And I stood with a neighbour earlier on up the top. We was taking away some of the cuttings that I'd done to the local tip, and I started planning again. If I'm stood around more than 5 minutes, I start thinking up new ideas. So I've got 1 or 2 new ideas for over winter, because I won't stop. I won't stop developing it over winter. I'll carry on. I've yet to do this, the wildlife area pond, the dip pools as I'm calling them. And that will get done. It's actually going to probably get done very soon, actually. I've got some carpet I'm going to lay down. I've got some sand I'm going to lay down. But I'll show you the process as we go along of how I do it. And let's see how that turns out. But there's no rush. There's never any rush. But one thing you need to bear in mind is that spring isn't far away. Things will start growing again pretty quick. Before you know it, they'll be away. And that's why I say winter's quite well. Autumn and winter is really important in a garden if you're going to want to develop it further. That's the time to really get stuck in, as I've been doing. It's starting to rain again now. Oh, this is those ring bits of metal that I found, I was given. And they're looking really good. And what I did the other day, I found these copper pipes. Now, they're probably, to weigh them in, they're probably worth quite a bit. They're 28mm. And it slots in lovely. So what I'm thinking is that looks really, really nice as a little feature. And I've done it on 2 of them. So that one's Rudbeckia, Herbstonner. And this one's Elianthus Orgialis. And I've done it to that as well. So what I said before about these was that once everything dies back, which it's going to do in the next month or so, and then once we get into January, I'll be chopping back. You've still got something statuesque in the garden. Now, I could do with more of these, to be honest. I've been looking at different things. If you remember, you cast your mind back a bit, I use these posts here. So the ones there, I use those posts to put them in. But now I've done that and I think they look great. I think they're a nice little feature for the garden. I've got 2 of them. I've got about 5 more of those rings, but I'm not going to the expense of buying any more of that. I'll probably buy anodised ones, to be honest, because they're a lot cheaper. But I'd like to get 1 more set of these at 28mm, but it's way too expensive to buy. As I said, these were getting taken out of a property, and I've upcycled them. And I just think they look great. Yeah, this is the shack. I keep showing the shack. And I really like the shack. It's one of my favourite things, and I'm not spending any time studying it really because I'm just too busy doing other things. Secret garden's looking, well, that's not the secret, that's the outside to the secret garden. It's all looking good. Yeah, I'm desperately not wanting to cut anything back at this time of year, and I think I did talk about this. And I won't. I'll leave things alone. We'll see what the weather brings in the next month or 2. See what happens. And I'm hoping that we get a really, really cold snap, which is what's being predicted as I record this today. And then we'll see a lot of this stuff dying back. And it needs to, really. A lot of it needs to die back, ready for spring, which will be on the heels of winter. That's Acanacloa there. It's still looking absolutely superb when you get close up to it. Look at the colours in there. That's stunning. It just keeps going. That's what grasses are good for this time of year. It's brilliant. I'm waiting for this to get a little bit further along, as I showed you before. Yeah, it's looking good. This is a snakebark maple, and it's called Acer Davidii, and it's actually called Viper, that particular one. And they can They're kind of a medium-sized tree, really, but it's very controllable. People panic about trees, and you really shouldn't. You really shouldn't, because this is going to... I'm hoping it's going to go way beyond this structure to the left, and I'll continue to prune it and make it do what I want it to do. So grasses, here we go, look, Deschampsia. So Deschampias are brilliant for that effect. And Deschampias, well, Molinias are really the first ones to fall apart and drop over, but Deschampias are not far on the heels, really, if they're in an exposed position. And they're relatively easy to clear away once they've finished the show, but I'll leave these. But any snow that hits all this lot is going to just crush it. It's going to be down to the ground, whereas all the other stuff should be pretty okay. So the Euphorbia wolfenii are looking good, aren't they? Looks superb. They look really good when you get the dewdrops on it, and we've had kind of a bit of mist as well just recently. And once the mists hit this Euphorbia, it just gives it a different look altogether. The yellowing bits below, they are all going to fall off. This is a natural thing for this Euphorbia, or this type of Euphorbia. So if you've got a Euphorbia wolfenii, one of the larger ones, Cariakis, whatever, it'll be absolutely fine. They will drop away, and each one of those will become a big yellow bract, massive, and for spring, and they're good. And some I see in other people's gardens are already flowering, but there are different types, so you must bear that in mind. That's Miscanthus jubularis, still looking great. I love the colour. I mean, some of the red is now fading, turning a different colour, but it still looks good. And do I leave it? Do I let it do its thing? I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I've said that I'll probably leave that alone and do a bit of an experiment, although I don't really need to, because I know exactly what it's going to do. It'll look fine. Let's go back up here a minute and show you this. So this is the gravel garden. I worked on this time last year, actually. I was actually working on this on Christmas Day while I was moving that plant there, that tree. That was cloud pruning. It was 6 inches too far to the left, so I moved it. And that's Taxus baccata Davidii. I have a lot of things in this garden called Davidii. What was I going to show you? So I was going to show you this. This is a Rhododendron macrophylla. A macrophylla means big-leaved. Look at the size of those leaves. They're huge. Here's a glove for comparison. There you go. There's my finger. Look at the size of those. They're massive. And what they do is they bring up these, and there's a chance that these will either sit for the winter and remain like that and carry on growing, or as we get into spring, they'll just simply die away, and it'll send up new stuff. So, yeah, so it's trying, but it probably won't succeed with that one. But who knows? It may do. May be fine. That's Cortaderia richardii. It's doing all right. And it produces these slender flowers. And it's only one this year. It's still relatively new in, but you've got to give it space, as you can see from there. That's a good 2 to 3 foot spreading out, and I'm going to give it all that space because I want this to be the main star in this border. And then if it gets a little bit too big, I'll lift it up and I'll pull it apart, split it apart, and then pour a bit back in. And that's what I should do with that. Now, if you've got Verbena bonariensis at all, this is what they do naturally. They produce these. Now, this is bent over. I didn't bend it, but the wind's knocked it over, and what it's done as a defence kind of thing is it's decided it's going to send up these shoots. Now I can simply leave them, or I could pull them off like that, strip some of those leaves back, trying to focus it there, strip some of these leaves back and then put it into water and it'll root through, and then I could get loads and loads of new plants. But I don't bother doing that because Verbena bonariensis will spread itself around. So I will not need to worry about that. So I'll not take any cuttings at all. There's that wolfenii again. Doesn't it look good? Fantastic. So I just thought I'd come and film this for a bit just before the weather really changes, and it will. I've no doubt in the next week or so, as predicted, it will get really cold. That's what I'm hoping for, to be honest, because I do want things to die off in the garden, and I do want the little critters to succumb to it. Not all of them, because they feed the birds, but some of them. This is the cloister pergola. I'm quite excited for this next year because the roses will start growing up this side, and the clematis, and this will fill out. It looks a little bit sparse at the moment, but don't be fooled by that. Don't be fooled by the burners at the minute. It will come good. And remember, we're having a set of French doors put into that window so we come straight directly out here. And the 4 white little sticks you can see, that's where I'm hoping to put like a flying deck there. Just a small one, just enough for 2 chairs to sit on. So we can come out there in the morning and sit and drink tea. Or coffee. We drink tea, but anyway. So that miscanthus is still looking good. That's memory. And when it gets wet, it does that. But when it dries out, it fluffs right up. It looks fantastic. This eupatorium, this is I think it's one called Gateway. It come through Bressingham Gardens. And it has these seed heads. So it will set seeds from that. Generally, they will set seeds around. You'll not find many. Just remember, if a plant's got thousands and thousands of seeds, there's not going to be a lot that's going to germinate on most plants. Not in my experience, anyway. Because people always panic about things like deschampsias, and this is another type. This is gold tow. And they panic because there are thousands of these little seeds. And the good thing is, it's easy to spot the grasses as the new year comes in. So you can easily pick them out. Now, if a plant is going to produce thousands of seedlings, it's doing it for a reason. It's doing it because the likelihood is it won't be very successful. So the more it produces, the better chance it's got of setting its own progeny. And that does set seed, and they will. Some of them will be successful and grow out. But I'll be looking for those because I want to remove them, because I shall want to keep this true to type. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different plants in there, if not 6. That I've clumped into there. They always look good on clumps, deschampsias. Here's another euphorbia. I love euphorbias, they're fantastic. I've got several different varieties. I always go back to these though. These are like my go-to euphorbia, which is Wolfenii, and that's just a selected seedling from a previous garden, or somebody else's garden actually. And it just looks good. Looks great. So this is Calamagrostis, Cal Forster, and I've split a load of these at the end of the year, didn't I, if you remember? And the little ones on the corner there look a bit sparse, but next year they're going to be fine. I'm almost tempted to cover the whole area in these completely because they look so good in the summer. They do, they look fantastic. So this is my standout area, as you know. Everything's dying back now. That's Rus glabra lanceolata, that sticky looking thing, and I showed that in the autumn. It had superb colour. But that's what it's doing at the moment. And everything else in here, I've got to now get in here and start pulling things out, just tidy this area up a little bit. Don't want to be too tidy. There's another deschampsia there, and I know something's coming in and sitting on that at night because it keeps getting crushed down. Something's sitting on that, so we'll have a look and see what's doing it. Yeah, so there we go. This is what it's looking like at the moment. And like I said, they're predicting bits of snow and bad weather. I look forward to that. I don't worry about winter. I always focus on spring. But there's so much to do till then. I don't worry at all. I love that area. Like I say, that's the cloister pergola, and I just absolutely love it. But it's not finished yet. It's got a bit of maturing to do, and it will get there. Oh, God, don't you just love walking around your garden? I do. Anyway, anybody got any questions on anything? I'm not just a grass man, I do perennials as well. Then throw a few questions my way. I'm happy to answer them. And like I say, today's venture out is just to see the garden as it is right now before next week. And I'll try and photograph it next week once we get the heavy frosts on it, because once they hit it, it totally changes the look of the garden. And we need this to come in because we need to stop some of the plants in the tracks, because some are growing away and they shouldn't be. They should be going into dormancy. So if they get too far along, all it does, it has a knock-on effect in spring. And a lot of them won't flower till later on, if at all. So we hope for a good hard frost to check them. And then we'll be all right again. Yeah, so Grassy Bottom's looking good. As I said, any questions, fire them my way. And let's see what next week brings. Okay, I'll talk to you soon. Ta-ra.